Good morning. I decided to check out exactly why people on YouTube resort to foul language and mean comments. And I'm not just talking about viewers leaving mean comments or subscribers leaving mean, vulgar comments, but I'm also talking about channels that have been around for a long time resorting to using swear words and insulting people by calling them a name. That's no way to represent your channels, guys. Alright? So here we go. Out of the fog. One of the top 100 traits of people who suffer from personality disorders. Okay. Here it is. Name calling. Okay? Use of profane, derogatory, or dehumanizing terminology to describe another individual or group. Okay, I'm going to emphasize or group. Labels designed to hurt. Name-calling is one of the most common tactics people use to hurt others or disparage them. It often occurs when someone has an emotional argument to make with little or no supporting logical argument. No supporting logical argument. Bye-bye logics. The emotional mind can often have a mind of its own, or emotional intelligence, which operates independently of the logic mind. And name-calling is a product of this emotional mind. An explosion of feeling in the form of barbed words. Most people who indulge in name-calling know that the label or name they choose to describe another individual or group is not factually accurate. The label is often regarded as hyperbole or as a metaphor, something which more accurately describes how the speaker feels about the other person or group than what the speaker actually thinks about the other person or group. Alright, the difference between judgment and name-calling. In the book, The Language of Emotions by Carla McLaren, illustrates the difference between judgment and name-calling using the example of a household rug. Alright, quotes. Let's imagine a rug that isn't ideal for the room we live in. We can judge the rug and see that its pile is too high or the color is wrong. Perhaps we feel sad that the money was wasted, but we freely process information about it and add that information to our skill set. That's judgment. It's not name-calling. It's a considered, decisive process. We have a problem with the rug, we have feelings about it, and we're definitely judging it, but we're not doing damage to our minds, our emotions, or psyches. Therefore, we move forward with more knowledge about rugs and rug care and about purchases in general. Now let's look into name-calling about the rug. Quotes. Why would anybody buy this rug? What kind of moron? And I'll tell you what, people use that word moron on YouTube like it's the only word in their entire vocabulary. And I'm going to even say people actually use the word fucking moron. When you add an expletive to that, means you have a major personality disorder. You better take care of it. Anyways, let's go on. What kind of moron puts a pale fluffy rug in a public area? Look at the way those colors clash. It looks like someone ate a box of crayons and then threw them on the floor. With name-calling, we get personally affronted, and it's about our own emotions. In both these examples, we don't like the rug, but name-calling doesn't make us smarter, stronger, or more aware. I'll repeat that. Name-calling does not make you smarter, stronger, or more aware. It just pits us in a futile opposition to a floor covering. Healthy judgment helps us choose what works in our lives. Okay, you know how it looks, how it feels. It's normal to feel hurt and defensive when a person starts labeling you or calling you names. When you are on the receiving end, you lose in two ways. The first way is in a loss of self-esteem. You receive the message that someone important to you does not like you or thinks less of you than you actually deserve. You may begin to wonder, what is wrong with me that this person does not like? Anyways, that's not my issue here. I have a healthy self-esteem and nobody can knock it down. Anyway, the second way you lose is in discovering that after the insult there is no path of resolution being offered to you. When a person is name-calling, they have abandoned intelligent conversation in favor of an emotional outburst. Okay, I'm going to repeat that. When a person is name-calling, they have abandoned intelligent conversation in favor of emotional outburst. In a direct way, they are informing you that they are not immediately interested in problem-solving, compromise, personal improvement, meaningful debate, or mutually beneficial conversation. How to cope? When a person resorts to name-calling, they have in that moment abandoned logic in favor of exaggerated expressions of their feelings. There is little to be gained by confronting them with any form of reasoned argument about what the facts are or if the name is warranted. There are generally two constructive options open to the victim. That's right, when you call somebody, when you name call somebody, you are victimizing somebody. So, think about that. Let's see. There are generally two constructive options open to the victim. The first is to stay and validate their feelings, but not their statements. The second is to leave and wait for time when they are ready to engage on a more logical or constructive discussion. There are also a number of destructive options, including retaliation and enabling. Highly not recommended. Feelings validations can sometimes produce constructive effects in people who are going through an emotional storm. Sometimes once their feelings have been understood and validated, a person will quiet down and be willing to discuss the facts more rationally. Unfortunately, I don't see that on YouTube. Alright? I see backbiting, name-calling, with the F word being flown around like it's, you know, I mean, it's freely used just a little bit too much. I'm gotta keep an eye on the time here. Sometimes once their feelings have been understood and validated, a person will quiet down, or a group, and be willing to discuss the facts more rationally. Unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be the truth here. However, the problem with staying and validating their feelings is you may have to absorb a prolonged, ego-crushing series of insults for some time without retaliating. Most people have a limit of how much patience they have. I know I do. It is hard to control a conversation with someone in the midst of an emotional firestorm without getting personally hurt yourself. In general, it is easier for therapists or other people to not directly get involved in a personality disordered person's life to provide this kind of validation, since they are usually not the ones being insulted. Since the resulting conflict rarely addresses the root problem, the way the personality disordered person suddenly feels so negative, these behaviors generally do not make them feel better. Furthermore, if the non reacts defensively or destructively to name-calling, they may inadvertently turn a blaming episode into a self-fulfilling prophecy. The real problem is that the personality disordered individual feels bad. Yeah, they should feel bad. They want to feel better. A discussion or argument about your list of faults or anybody else's is not going to solve it. The other constructive option available when someone calls you a name is to politely decline to accept the label and exit the conversation. Now that's the most constructive sentence I've read. Do not accept the label and exit the conversation, which also helps avoid a circular argument, and by refusing to accept the label also asserts a firm boundary. What not to do. Don't become defensive and validate a label or projection by arguing about it or about what the facts are. They will often lead to a circular conversation. Name calling is an expression of a person's feelings, not the facts. If you're name calling, you're not presenting the facts, you're showing your feelings. Don't assume that the person really believes what they are saying, or always feel that way. Don't assume that there is a logical reason for why you are being called names. Don't assume or believe that other people agree with you with the name you are called. Don't try to play therapist or develop a fix-it syndrome. A person who has a personality disorder cannot be changed by changing yourself. Don't assume that because their blame is inaccurate, they are being deliberately manipulative or calculating. They may be so focused on their feelings that they are giving very little attention to their behavior. I'm going to repeat that. They may be so focused on their feelings that they are giving very little attention to their behavior. All right, to all you viewers, subscribers, channels, you might want to think about this. You know, if you're trying to promote your product and you go onto somebody else's page and start, calling them fucking idiots, you're not going to get your point across. All right, people will leave your channels. You keep doing that. Anyway, what to do? Remember that an episode of name calling isn't about you. It's really all about the way the other person feels. Pay attention to their feelings, rather than the facts being expressed. While the facts may be way off, the underlying feelings between the lines are often real and even honest. I feel scared. I feel worthless. I feel weak, etc. If you feel comfortable, you can model I statements in your responses. I feel scared when you say that. Remember that what the person is feeling is temporary, and they will probably feel different in a few days or a few hours, or let's face it, for some people, a few years. If necessary, you can verbally validate the name caller's feelings while rejecting the label and try to redirect the person with the personality disorder to the real issue. So long as you are able to stay in the conversation without feeling threatened or getting hurt, and so long as you aren't exposing others, such as children, to the abuse. All right? Name calling is abuse, guys. Look at that. It's abuse. Every time you name call, you're abusing somebody. Politely, briefly, and calmly refuse to accept the label and state the truth one time only. End the conversation by taking a time out, even if the other person does not want to. There you go. This is the reason why people on YouTube resort to calling people fucking idiots. And I don't like that F word, I'm sorry, but, that's what they say. I say it. People call people morons and idiots, and they use that F word all the time. Makes you look bad. You're the one who looks bad. The name caller looks bad. And you have a personality disorder. Fix it. Thank you.